So I ended up getting out in 2017, and I hit the ground running, man, trying to catch up with the Joneses, clubbing. One thing I didn't do though, I didn't jump back out there and start hustling. You know what I mean? Because like the feds scared the crap out of me, man. I wasn't trying to like go right back for that. Getting high and drinking. Excuse me. Like you can do it so many times before they even consider sending you back. Because the prisons is overcrowded, especially for not to sound fanatical, but guys like me that sold drugs and ran the streets, like that they ain't got no violent cases, you know what I'm saying? Like the prisons is like overcrowded. So it takes a lot for them to send you back. You know what I mean? So I was getting high, man. I was eating ecstasy, man. I was probably eating 4 or 5 pills a day, triple stacks, man. I was drinking bottles and bottles on top of bottles, and I was gambling all the time. I was drinking beer, man. I got to putting that stuff in my nose again. Anything that was short term, I could try to get out of my system and beat the people with. I really didn't smoke too much weed because, that stays in your body for 30 days. My PO, man, Kyle Rowland, man, bless his heart, man. I've talked to him since I've got back sober, man, and I've expressed gratitude to him because he gave me every chance in the world. Like I got like 6 chances before I went back and done 10 months and killed my paper. But I was getting high, man, and it come to a point to where the way God worked with me is like some of those POs are green, man. So when I was dropping these positives, back to back to back, when my results come back, it says the MDMA in them, which is meth, cocaine, all the stuff this got, actually has in it. He's thinking that I'm using each drug by itself. So he's thinking that I'm on meth. So he asked me back in 2018, do you want to go to, long-term treatment? So I was like, man, hell no, man. Treatment for what? Oh, I don't think I treatment. I mean, back then I was just self-will run ride, man. I just didn't think I needed it, And so he had me go somewhere called Greenland's Counseling. Mr. Durrell, man, he's an older guy. And I was still using, man. Mama was sick. I was always depressed, man. I was always sad, because I get anxiety bad, especially social anxiety, just because when I'm around, when I'm around a lot of people, man, I want my back to the wall. I don't, I just, been the greatest dudes you'll ever be around, but like, I just don't like being around a lot of people, you know what I mean? So, Mr. Durrell, man, he was concerned about me too, man. Like it's like everybody I always came in contact with when I was spiraling out of control. Like it's like now that I can look back at it with a clear mind, everybody was sticking their neck out trying to help me, man. So to kind of speed it up a little bit, man, I just kept using, man. My usage, man, was kind of getting out of control to the point where I was losing touch with myself, man. I wasn't trying to work. I wasn't doing nothing, man. Just waking up, trying to figure out a way to beat the system. So I ended up catching a couple more dirties, and Kyle made me go to the mark. So the first time I went back in 18, I think it was like September of 18, I got admitted to the Mark Center. Stayed there for probably about 2 months. Got in an argument with one of the fellows in there in the kitchen, got discharged. I left. Went on the run for about 26 days, turned myself in, because, the feds, I was running from the marshals. It was a different ball game with me. So I had Chuck Norris, Walker, Texas Rangers. I had this, man. So I know it's no getting away from them. Plus I had my mother up under so much stress because I couldn't never come down there and see her because that was the address that I used. You know what I mean? So I turned myself in. I sat down for a little while. He let me back out. I went to the oil in Orangeboro.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like it there. They had them dogs in there. I just, it's just my mind, man. My mind was just shattered, man. I found every excuse to leave, Plus, I was involved with a chick, man. It was toxic, So I ended up leaving there after a couple of weeks. Ran in the wind again. So I think I stayed on the run for probably like 2 months that time. And I had went to my mom's house. I had snuck down to my mom's house, and we sat in the room one day. Man, by this time I started smoking spice. Like this is when I
Ew.
I was really on, man, because I was on the run, so it wasn't nothing that I could do. I couldn't work. I couldn't really be out in public anywhere. So like I was crashing out, man. So I started smoking spice. And one day, man, me and my mom was down there sitting at the house. Now, I got emotional, man. I got one of them times where I just kind of hit a rock bottom, and I just got sick of it. So mama was like, she said, "Are you ready?" Because if you're ready, I'm gonna be your number one fan, regardless. So I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna call Aaron, because me and Aaron Brown, that runs the Marks, and that's like my brother. You know what I'm saying? He's been there for me through thick and thin, man. Big, huge vital piece of my recovery right now. So I ended up calling Aaron. Aaron told me, he said, "Bro, look," he said, "you do what you got to do." He said, "Man, you let me know when your court date is." He said, "Now I'll come to court, man, and I'll speak up in your behalf." He said, "But man, you got to do what you got to do, get this stuff behind you." So needless to say, I turned myself in again. So Judge Strivers made me sit in there a little while this time, man. I sat in there for almost 2 months. And when I finally went to court to my revocation hearing, Aaron come up there, and man, that man let me out again. He let me out again. It was crazy. I thought I was gone. You know what I mean? Because like he gets mad when people run from him. And the magistrate, that's what they call him in the federal system. They call him the magistrates. Like he don't play that. He's the head chief judge, and he don't play that. So I end up going back to the Mark, and I kind of sat still that time. I started learning some things. I opened my mind up. Angelo Bailey was my sponsor. Um, I was there for about 5 months, and I was walking to this is really when my life kind of changed for the better, but it didn't get to where it's at like now, but it changed. I was walking to the library one day, and I got hit by a truck. Uh, I had to get airlifted to Vanderbilt. Um, Langley and all them was there. Langley was he was a client in the building with me at the time. They flew me to TriStar, head trauma, torn meniscus. I got a bulge in my back, like it tore up the left side of my face, like my eyelid thing right here, it's crushed in a little bit. Like it destroyed me. I got pictures of it, man.
While you were
Um,
trudging, that happened?
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. It was a big deal, man. Because I'm well known down here, man, in Bowling Green, man. My mom, man, she's gambled at all the gambling houses. Like, everybody knows my uncle. We was real big on sports, man, and it was a big deal, man. Everybody thought I was dead. I don't even really remember exactly what happened. I just remember leaving the building that day, and then I remember waking up. Anything in between, I don't remember till today. Uh, but I ended up coming back to the building after like I think it was like almost 6 weeks, because he let me continue my program while I was on bed rest at the house. So I ended up graduating, and I ended up getting hired on as SOS monitor. So I worked at the building for about 7 months. And in this process of me working, of course, I was in the midst of a settlement. So I ended up winning out. I won a settlement. Floyd Timber, the steward, won me like $156,000. Uh, and when I got that money, that's when all hell broke loose. You know, it's kind of like a celebration relapse, man. I was involved with a very, very toxic female. I don't put all the blame on her, because a lot of the stuff that I went through with her, I allowed it. I had bukus of money, and I was sober at the time. I was working at a recovery home, like I had great people around me. So I mean, like I thought that I was making that next step to like create me a family, because I never had one outside of my family. And it didn't work out that way, man. She just ended up to be a well-known person around these parts, and I ended up doing some crazy stuff too. I'm not taking myself out of the picture. I wasn't happy, man. I was spending, man. I thought I was putting us in the house, man. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on his house. Didn't put my name on nothing. So once everything started happening with that, I had started drinking again. Um, Popping, I was popping painkillers, because like I refused to go back to the coke days. I refused to do that, man, because like my mind was already molded into trying to become something better, So like to jump that quick back into that hard drug stuff, I didn't allow myself to do that. So I was just drinking, man, and popping perks, man, and going through it with her. And I'm spending all this money. I bought myself a brand new car, Chevrolet. And I spent like almost 30 grand on that. Like, and earning them became what they was worried about me because I was running around Bowling Green spending up all this money, and I wasn't doing anything to put anything back because like I was hiding it from them. I didn't let them know that I had started drinking again, that I had relapsed. So I was involved up and down this relationship for almost 3 years, man. I couldn't get nothing right. I stopped being myself. I was sneaking at this point in time, man. Because she's not one of us. So she doesn't understand the concept of this thing being a disease. She thinks that it's just something that I can control once I start it. The only good thing about this thing when you get God in your life, just for me, is that it can be maintained. It can be treated, if you're willing to open your mind and do the necessary things to treat it. But it's never gonna just go away. And it's not something that I can control if I start, and she seen me as just a POS. She seen me as this bottom of the barrel guy. And I bought this beautiful tricolor bulldog around. I put a fence around his house. I put us in his house. And like it's like you're not being thankful for none of this stuff, man. And like I went into a huge depression. Like it was the worst I've ever been. And on the side of that, mama's getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Like she's fading away on me. And it was bothering me so bad, and it sounds crazy, but I kind of used to keep myself from around mama a lot because I didn't like seeing her like that. We just used to talk on the phone all the time. But we end up fighting, man. She stabbed me, tore up my car, broke 2 or 3 big TVs that I bought, man. Used to put me out. I always had to go down mama's. I'm reaching out to Aaron and them, they kind of giving me tough love because I'm telling them I'm done drinking and using, but I really ain't. I'm just looking for I'm on a pity party, looking for somebody to feel sorry for me. So me and her get to going through all that turmoil and bull crap. So I end up going, because I was still on paper, of course, catching dirties again. So Cal sends me back to the Mark Center. So at this point in time, I had to go back. It was COVID. That's when the COVID was real bad. That's when could nobody move around. You know what I mean? So basically, the building was just in the building for 24 hours a day. And I got over there, man. And, I was withdrawn a little bit, and my mind was all over the place, anxiety setting in, and I took off, man. I left. So when I left, Cal ends up putting the warrant out for me. So I turned myself in again. They never had to chase me around, man. I turned myself in again, and he sent me back. Judge Strivers gave me 10 months in a day. I did 10 months in a day in Arkansas and Forest City, up around the tip of Memphis, and I killed my paper. So I got out 2021, and when I got out, without being on paper, that kind of amplified me to want to smoke weed and do stuff like that. But I kind of always kept me a job though. I worked at RC Components. I tried to work it back out with my ex, but that was a bad deal because didn't nobody like my family get along with her. Like we didn't know none of my friends get along with her. I can't say that Aaron dislikes her, doesn't get along with her, but he didn't like the fact that I kept putting myself in that situation that was making me, go backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what the relationship did to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just got to a point to where it wasn't nothing there, you know. So I don't know, man. I kept using and I just kept using. And then it got to all my money was gone. I spent up all my money. I didn't want to be in that house over there anymore. Uh, so I moved down there with mom. And like once I was down there to stay, like the madness completely took over me. You know, I tried ice, uh anything to cover up the pain, man. I ecstasy, coke, drinking. I was uh taking those painkillers, and that ain't even never been my thing, man. I was taking those, man, and I was drinking. I was going to sleep drinking, waking up drinking, man. It got to a point where I was in such of a deep depression, and my anxiety, man, I was small. My skin was dark, man. I looked like a zombie, man. And kind of leading up to where I'm at today, uh, mom she had got sick, man, and she's moving around with this walker, and I'm not understanding what's really wrong with her. She won't really tell me because she know I'm the youngest, man. My brother was locked up when all this stuff was taking place that led me up to where I'm at now. So she got sick one day, man, and I heard her fall. So when I went to the back room and I was drunk, fresh off a hangover, still drinking that morning, go back there, man, she's laid out on the floor. So me and my uncles and my aunts, man, we had to talk her into coming up to Greenville because Logan Memorial down there in Russellville wasn't doing nothing for her. So the same day that I talked her into admitting herself in the hospital, I called Lauren Anderson, Aaron Brown's wife, and she got bed in Albany, Journey Pier. So the same day that my mother went to the hospital, I came back to and she told me, to stay true to myself, man. The last time I seen her physically, she was in the back of an ambulance, but she had got out of the hospital down Journey Pier while I was down there, and we talked on the phone a couple times. And she told me, like, last time I talked to her, man, she told me, she said, don't you be arguing with that girl, and you make sure that you do what you got to do. I'm gonna be a number one fan. And like a couple of days after that, man, that's when I got the phone call that my uncle found her dead. you know, and I was still down in Albany when she passed on me. So it crushed me, man. It did something to me. This is her right here. It's a little box that my coworkers got me made.
That's beautiful. Yes, it is.
But she she was my everything, man. That was my best friend. She was my enabler. She was all that, you know. But I know for sure with all the the bull crap I've been in my life, man, from the prison time to the streets to using to messing up all my money, you know, to losing friendships, man, relationships with my family, like to just losing everything up under me, man. Like, I stayed sober through it all. I came up from Albany to the condos up here in Bowling Green to Johnny Perry and Miss Johnny Furlong, uh, Lauren, Jennifer, my therapist, Adam, Cody James, like, big ups to all them, man. They all came together and they bought me a suit from Giorgio's and some shoes, so I could go to my mother's funeral. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it just changed my life. It just, I'm not, the thing with me with this time, man, is I'm trying to get involved in motivational speaking, because like I'm not a captain recovery type dude. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm in AA. AA saved my life. I've worked my steps. I've got sponsees. I've got a great sponsor, a great support group, like the whole nine. But I'm kind of wanting to venture off into a little motivational speaking for the youth. You know what I mean? Because this fentanyl thing, I've never seen death so fluent. I've never, like, since I played my part in all this madness and stuff, I've never seen death so, like, occur so fluently, you know, behind just one drug. You know, you don't hear anything about heroin or coke, or like, you don't hear nothing about that no more. It's all overdoses from fentanyl, 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 you know, and it's the younger crowd, man. So, you know, you know, everything, you know, I'm not ashamed of nothing that I went through in life, the struggles, you know, even now, I live in sober living right now. You know, I'm at the grad house. You know, I don't really have much, but it feels like everything to me. You know what I mean? Because you know, I've allowed God back in my life, man, and He's blessed me with a piece of humbleness. And when I lost my best friend, man, I really, really believe that she took all that like stubbornness and self pity. She took all that junk with her. I think she took it with her, man, and she dropped it off in the trash can while she was on her way to, you know, the hereafter or whatever. But you know, I'll never I'll never forget the last time I seen her laying in that, you know, in that casket, man, which they did a great job on her. You know what I mean? She was beautiful, you know what I'm saying? But like that just totally changed my life, you know. And you know, like the thing with it now, I'm blessed to not have a desire to want to drink and or a drug, but I'm kind of battling this grief. You know what I mean? I'm I'm trying to figure out how I can accept the challenge consistently of grieving and still knowing that everything's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes I get caught up in the grief and I just be like mad at the world that my mother's gone. But I forget that I'm still in position. I'm still sober. I still got great people around me that care a great deal about me. I forget all about that. You know what I mean? So, you know, where I'm at right now in life is that I'm balancing grief and being and knowing that everything's gonna be okay, and try not to get too caught up in isolation, man, because I turn self care into isolation. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's kind of,
That's
I don't
it.
know.
Dude, you've been
Yeah,
through so much, like so much. And to see you be able to, I mean, just take that and do something positive with it is beautiful. I mean, just you've been through so much. Like all that is just like you're gonna help so many people. Like just you've overcome so much. That's it, you know, like wow.
yeah, yeah.
And we talked about earlier, like that we've talked about like the opiate, you know, and how opiates and meth and like treatment, like that's where the angle that we have come from. So I'm just real grateful that you were able to come on here and bring the part of like being stuck in the, you know, justice system and doing time and like, you know, the struggles of after coming out of, you know, doing a long time, like just all that stuff needs to be talked about because that's not easy. I mean, I can't personally speak, but obviously just hearing you, that wasn't easy either, having to try to like adjust back into society after doing institutionalized, you know,
Yeah,
like that's not talked about, you know,
yeah,
publicly as much, you know.
yeah, definitely.
So
I've been blessed, man. You know, like don't get it twisted though. I don't want anybody that listens to this video think that I'm disregarding the program of AA, because the program of Alcoholics Anonymous absolutely saved my life. You know what I mean? The things that come with it, the knowledge that you obtain, the people that is put around me, you know, the Mark Center. I mean, like all them things is the reason why like I've gave myself a chance to think like I think today, because it equipped me with it gave me a way to allow God back in my life, you know?
yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing, man. So, you know, I take it one day at a time and just keep getting better.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
coming
we
and sharing. It's
appreciate
about
you
to
sharing your story.
Thank y'all for having me, man. It was an honor to be on here, for real. Thank you.